Hey everybody, welcome to the 1804 show, chapter 2. I'm your host, Dollar Will, and this is another episode of 1804 history. I just want to say thank y'all for joining me on this lovely Friday night. And before I begin, make sure y'all like this video, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the 1804 history channel, 1804 chapter 2. And just wanted to thank everybody for support. You guys, just the love that I get, y'all make sure y'all allow me to do what I do. And tonight's episode is going to be a very emotional one because when it comes to children, I get real emotional about that. But I feel like this story needs to be told. This story needs to be heard. And people need to know just how corrupt just this whole situation is. Well, tragic situation, shall I say. Last year was the 40-year anniversary of the Atlanta child murders. And when you sit back and think about, you are able to, live past a teenager, past your 20s, in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you realize just how precious life is and how precious you were able to grow up and really mature and really begin your life and stuff like that when these kids didn't do nothing to nobody and their lives was taken away by who knows. And it's just like doing the research to this episode, it was just really hard for me to do. It was just really hard to sit there and really watch and look at these faces of these innocent babies, man. And just to think like most of us have kids, nieces, nephews, cousins, siblings, that's that age, and it's just terrifying to know that, somebody can kidnap one of them and while they in their bed sleeping, kidnap them while they're playing outside, playing in the park, at the mall. It's just a scary thing. And just to find out, like, half of these people were just, wasn't doing their job, wasn't caring. And it's just really like an unfortunate situation. It's a really unfortunate, tragic story. And I wanted to talk about that. And it's just what really makes me mad. It's just a lot of people don't know about this story. Even the ones that live in Atlanta and was born in Atlanta don't know anything about this. And how you not know about this and you live in the city of Atlanta, Georgia? And it's just a very unfortunate situation because I know what it's like to lose someone close, and these families are still grieving 40 years later. And just the fact to have your son or daughter, your loved one, get murdered, get strangled, get stabbed, get sexually assaulted, castrated, all because of the fact that somebody wanted to make a statement, somebody wanted to have some attention. And And back then, it was just like a lot of corruption, media corruption, police corruption. You know, people really didn't care about missing black kids being murdered and being found. Like they just was garbage. Like they was nothing. And they wanted to keep on this narrative that they were just like prostitutes and troubled kids and street kids and stuff like that. So it was like, you know, they got what they deserved, and that when it was, you know, missing white kids and stuff, the search and the detective work and the police work was urgent. But when it comes to us and when it comes to our people and this and that, it's no cry for help. You know what I'm saying? It's not a an emergency when we go missing and our kids get killed. And it was just like crazy, you know. And it's just really hard for me to do this episode based on the fact that these were children, these was kids. And just the fact to have like their bodies mutilated and dismembered and this and that was really one of the things that I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And what I talk about on this show is grief, depression, anxiety, mental health, and everything. And it's just really important that people get to have the decency not to tell a griever how to feel or tell a person how to grieve. And because quite frankly, when you you know, watch like the parents, the families 40 years later, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the mothers now are old women, and then a lot of the siblings are adults and everything with children and stuff like that. So it still affects them every day. You know, it still pains them. You know, people still cry. People still haven't healed from those wounds. And that's why I really don't tell people how to grieve or how to feel, because you don't know how long it takes a person to gain acceptance. So I just always make sure that I try to, you know, understand, because I went through that too. And not knowing why and not knowing what really happened, it's really daunting. Just off the fact that, you know, the person who was the scapegoat by the name of Wayne Williams wasn't the murderer of all these innocent people, innocent kids, and there were 3 adults as well. And he wasn't the primary, well, he became the primary suspect based on politics and based on evidence saying that they was in his house, and he pretty much craved the attention. He craved the notoriety, the popularity, the publicity, and made himself a target. You know, he was young too, you know, 23 years old and stuff, and he owned a recording studio and had his own singing group by the name of Gemini. So he had, you know, local teenagers come and kids and audition in his own record company and stuff like that he had. And it was just one of those things that, you know, well, since we can't investigate or find the killer or these killers and stuff like that, let's make him the scapegoat. And a lot of people suffered from this ordeal. Not just the families, but the community as well. Because it was easy for them to find kids and victims. Because a lot of the kids that were killed were in housing projects in poor black neighborhoods. And it just was one of those things where, you know, you in a ghetto and stuff like that, nobody gonna care. Nobody even gonna acknowledge your disappearance and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things that's like your social class plays a part. Like if you don't have money and if you get killed or you die, nobody cares. And nobody didn't care until 9 victims were discovered. 9 bodies were obtained. That's when the FBI stepped in. It was 9 kids that were killed and found in remote areas, and then that's when the FBI took it upon themselves. Well, we have a serial killer in the Black Atlanta, and the president at the time was Ronald Reagan, and I ain't gonna have to, I don't gotta say much about Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, what I'm saying, has a history. We all know. The ones who done their research and the ones who know. I ain't gonna say anything because I don't want to get flagged or I don't want to get blocked. But he said because he had press conferences and reporters was calling him out on his negligence to deal with the murders. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't even send the National Guard. How they usually do. And a lot of people was mad about that because it was like, how dare you not send troops and the FBI and stuff like that, and it had to take 9 bodies to be discovered for you to step in. And like I said, like this particular story, it was just a lot. You know what I'm saying? It was just, Atlanta's first black mayor, Maynard Jackson. It was a black police chief and everything. But they even said that it was racism in the police department around that time. And it was Ku Klux Klan involvement. They had a informant or whistleblower confess and said that it was the Klan. They was only attacking black boys because boys were going to be a problem when they grew up. And the girls were just casualties, But they attacked the black boys because they was afraid that they was going to grow up and rise above them. Same thing in the Exodus story with Pharaoh, killing off the firstborn boys, you know what I'm saying? So it's just pretty much the same context a little bit, a lot of similarities with that, but it's just the fact like, you will, brutally murder children and dump them and not care. And just watching a whole lot of these documentaries on it, it's just really unfortunate that you come across stories like that because they don't talk about that in school. They don't talk about that hardly these days. And really, at that time, Atlanta was more concerned about was really building a black um, metropolitan area because they built a international airport. You know, they was building properties, they was building and gentrifying certain areas so that the community can get rich, you know. And that's really was all it was about. And the poor got ignored, the poor got shunned, the poor got accused, even the moms got accused of murdering their own children. And if that ain't disrespectful, I don't know what is. And you have, you know what I'm saying, a situation with child pornography, and you have a situation with child pedophilia, and some of these victims. And it was just that nobody cared, for real, for real. It was more like, you know, we got to put this on somebody. And the police knew what was going on. They didn't want to incite a riot. They didn't want to spark up a race riot. And it was really like sickening to know that the Klan couldn't have been involved, because that's where the Klan originated at. You know, the legacy of the Ku Klux Klan were outside of Atlanta and Stone Mountain, Georgia, and they're like, you know, right now as we speak, Stone Mountain, you got these training camps, these training facilities, and you know, they actually training for combat. You know, they're prepared while we shooting each other down. And what we gonna do? You know, I'm not saying that, you know, not to take matters into our own hands, but it just, they always been prepared for whatever, and we never been prepared. And that's why they knew how to get us always when we're not prepared. We divided, you know, we egotistical, we're bamboozled, we're so oblivious to everything. You know, all we care about is just, you know, getting money and stunting and flexing and all this other stuff. But it's just when it comes to our safety, when it comes to our, you know, protection, you know, we rely on the people who really don't care about us. And the one thing that I found beautiful about this story was the community joined together. It was a vigilante group called the Guardian Angels. It was another group, I forgot the name. If you want to know the name, you know, you research it yourself. But it was just a lot of people, a lot of citizens, you know, formed search parties into finding these children. And a lot of times, you know, the police would really be negligent, you know, really wasn't putting the effort, a huge effort into finding these bodies. So the community formed packs and formed groups and found these bodies quicker than the police and demanded answers. You know, even the mothers formed organizations and, you know, really was calling the mayor out on his hypocrisy and just making sure that they did their job. So it was a lot of citizens who came together and organized groups and organizations and just really wanted to put an end to the bullshit. And I really respect that. I respect when black people come together for a common cause, because these was kids, these was children, you know, no older than, you know, from 9 all the way to, you know what I'm saying, 16. You know what I'm saying? Little kids, teenagers. You know, like the three of them was adults. I would say the oldest one was like, I would say 20, in his mid 20s. So, you know, being found in parking lots, in the woods, in the river, behind just top of buildings, crazy shit. And nobody really had a lead or evidence like that. And they just needed to get somebody. They needed to frame somebody. And I'm not saying that Wayne Williams is innocent, because only God knows the truth. He knows the truth. And whoever knows about it knows the truth. But he didn't kill all those kids. And regardless of what people say or what people think, you know, I ain't trying to be disrespectful. I ain't trying to be insensitive. But just after watching this documentary, I know for a fact that no one man could kill 30 people like that, you know, in the course of 2 years without leaving a trail or without catching himself. And it's just one of those things that we would never know what really happened. But it just looked like foul play to me. It looked like a huge cover-up. It looks like a huge conspiracy, corruption, and somebody needed to do something before it got bad. It got and became worse. And I feel that the higher ups know what really happened, but they didn't want to incite a riot. They didn't want people to get angry, because when black people angry and want to take matters into their own hands, you lose money, you lose property, because a lot of people going, you know, burn stuff down, going to fight, going to loot, going to whatever. But it's just it's just sad, you know, because that can happen today. And that was at a pretty much like a period where it was just after the civil rights movement, you know, everybody was getting into their lives, and you know, people were just, you know, making ends meet. You know, this late 70s and the 80s, man, it was just like, you know, poverty was real. You know, welfare was at an all-time high. And Section 8 was on the rise. There was barely no fathers in the home. So it was just like tough. And the mothers did the best they could to raise their children. And then this happened and never got the closure. I don't think there's no such thing as closure. It's really not. It is one of those words that makes everything sound good and feel good, but it doesn't feel good. You would never get no closure from anything like that, or just period. I believe so. So it's just one of those stories that I wish that the truth would come out, because a lot of people deserve the truth. No matter how bad it feels and how bad someone cries, I feel like it's the truth. Because a lot of people went to their graves without knowing what happened to their loved one. And out of all the stories, the one that really stuck out to me was one of the victims' younger brother, Anthony Terrell. His name was Eric Terrell, but his brother name was Anthony. And he said, while walking on the path where he last seen his brother alive, he said he could still see his brother After 41 some years, he could still see his brother walking. And he said that's when his and that really got to me because I can understand exactly what he mean by that. And I just want everybody to just, quit asking me, why you care so much. Because obviously I do. Somebody got to care. Somebody got to be the one to tell these stories. And I'm one of the people that's going to tell these stories, regardless about how people feel about it. Because these stories need to be heard. Because it could be your kids. It could be your nieces, your nephews, your little cousins, your siblings. It could be anybody. And these children was picked by sick individual or sick individuals. And they died before they even got the chance to experience life. And me being a 34-year-old male, like, I couldn't imagine losing one of my friends while I was in middle school, high school, like that. That's tough. That's hard. It's unbearable. And then you go into a funeral of a child. It's one of the hardest things ever because they didn't deserve to die. None of them did. But these people in the White House and the police department, they were trying to find every excuse not to investigate. They were trying to find any excuse to change the narrative and trying to make it seem like that they deserved it. All types of stuff and not humanize these kids. So the racism in this is pathetic. Especially when they kids, like, nobody's shouldn't be the exception. Everybody should be getting treated the same. Everybody case should be investigated the same. It shouldn't have to take 9 dead kids in order for somebody to say that, damn, we have a serial killer. And that's the bullshit of it all. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here real quick. I pray for the families. I pray for everybody who's was horribly affected by this situation. You're not alone. And I just want to say to all the moms and to everybody who lost a loved one during that time, I'm so sorry that you have to experience that. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that without no justice, without closure. And I was honored to tell your story. But yeah, that would be the end of the episode. Make sure everybody like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And will be more coming soon. Got more interviews coming up too. And y'all have a good night. Be safe out here. Peace.